Good morning, Patriots. How are you doing today? This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from the downtown metropolis of LaMonte, Missouri. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever it is you are at. It's Friday. That's fun. Yay. Hope you guys are. It's raining here in central Missouri, so I hope it's dry where you're at. Anyways, it is a beautiful day, even when the rain is happening. I love this time of year when the temperatures get a little cooler, and I haven't really had my air or my heat on for weeks, so that makes my meter on my house not go like it's in warp drive, like it has this summer. And of course, things are more expensive here in Missouri. They now have surge pricing. Yeah, they charge you more when you need it the most. So it's fair. It's fair. It's all good. Anyways, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. And the word of the day, as brought to us by Marine in the Woods, as given by the Lord, is John 8:31 through 47. That's John 8:31 through 47. Make sure you crack open the Bible, see what God has for you today, because God is good all the time, and all the time He is good. Somebody's saying no sound. Well, I think you're the only one. I don't see anybody else saying it. So try refreshing or hit the mute button or something. So it shows that I got sound. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's get started. Let's see. Of course, if that person doesn't have sound, then I'm telling them to tell them to do things. They're not hearing me telling them to do things, so they don't know to do the things that I'm telling them to do. That's kind of an oxymoron. Anyways, so let's get started with the show. I want to make this announcement. Last week, and thanks to you all in part, we sold out of the greatest product that we have. This is going to be $1 billion product. For those of you who are looking for a side gig, looking for a few extra bucks, I can tell you how to do it. I can tell you, this is it right here. This product right here is going to make a lot of people a lot of money, including myself, hopefully. But this is the Snow Slim Chocolate Raspberry sauce that makes your pants fall off. I've lost over 10 pounds on this. I've had to add a new notch to my belt. I lost 20 pounds on the Nueva Body, but this stuff right here, man, oh man. And we sold out of it. We sold out. We sold 3. They had saved up 3 months supply for the sales in November, for the Black Friday sales, and they sold out of it. They completely sold out of it. But good news is it's back. It's back with all the deals. You can get your free nitro or free coffee with it. If you sign up for this cheaper discount rate on auto ship, it will stay this price. Listen to what I'm saying to you. It will stay this price as long as you keep the auto ship. The price won't change. So you can get this great deal for the rest of the year if you'd like. And that's a pretty good deal. I'm here to tell you right now, it's a pretty darn good deal. So I don't know why we got the coffee one. All right, it's good. It's no problem. I was going to play a little commercial, but I could see the commercial. Charlie had the commercial on when I was on his show yesterday, but I don't have the commercial. That's weird. It doesn't matter. I did my commercial. We're good to go. Hey, support the Patriot Mike Show. Support the Patriot Mike Show. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the share button. Hit the heart button. Do some commenting, whatever. Wherever you're at, everybody's different. Wherever they're at, it doesn't make a difference. But if you'll do that, it would really help me out. And the other way that you can help me out is there's a little tip jar down there, and some people do and some people don't, and that's okay. Or you can send me a text message to 660-620-2644 or an email at PatriotMikeShow@gmail.com and ask about the products that we're selling that makes a difference for everybody. 2 products I absolutely am excited about is the Snow Slim and the collagen, the Snow Collagen, which is better than the other collagen I was selling. Have you had your collagen today? And if you haven't, why not? You should. You absolutely should. All right. Let's get started with the show. We're going to start out with some zany stuff. This is legit. This is not Babylon Bee. Sometimes I start off with the Babylon Bee just because they're funny. But this is weird. Former aide to GOP Representative Van Drew charged with faking bizarre violent political attack. The Jesse Smollett of GOP's, a former aide to GOP New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew, was charged with faking a bizarre political attack. 26-year-old Natalie Green, a co-conspirator, faked an elaborate attack and claimed three men, one armed with a gun, hogtied Green, sliced her body and face, and wrote "Trump whore" on her stomach. According to prosecutors, 26-year-old Natalie Green hired a body modification artist to deliberately cut lacerations on her face and body. Green was charged with one count of conspiracy to convey false statements and hoaxes, and one count of making false statements to federal law enforcement. She's facing up to 10 years in prison for the hoax. Per DOJ, late night on July 23rd, 25, Green's co-conspirator called 911, reported that she and Green had been attacked by three men when they were out walking on a trail in a nature preserve in Egg Harbor Township. The U.S. Attorney's Office for District of New Jersey said, according to the co-conspirator, during the attack, the men had called Green by name and had specifically referenced her employment with federal official number one, an official whose identity is known to the government. When law enforcement officers located Green, she was lying in a wooded area just off the trail with her hands and feet bound together with black zip ties. Green's shirt was pulled up over her head and was also tied with a zip tie. The DOJ said Green had numerous lacerations on her face, neck, upper chest, and shoulders. The words "Trump whore" were written on her stomach, and the words "Federal Official 1 is a racist" were written on her back. Green was crying and yelling that one of her alleged attackers had a gun. Green told police officers that one or more of the men who allegedly attacked her said he had a gun and threatened to shoot her. Green also said that one or more of the attackers had her held down and restrained her movement, cutting her and writing on her body. A couple days later, after receiving medical treatment for her lacerations, Green again described the alleged attack to law enforcement officers, including an agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The DOJ said the investigation revealed that Green had not, in fact, been attacked by three men at gunpoint on July 23rd. Instead, Green had been paid a body modification sacrification artist, didn't know there was such a thing, but okay, to deliberately cut the lacerations on her face, neck, and chest and shoulders based on a pattern she had provided beforehand. Law enforcement officers recovered black zip ties in Green's car, and on the night of the attack, similar to the zip ties that had been used to bind Green's arms and feet. Also, the investigation revealed that the 2 days prior to the alleged attack, the cell phone of Green's co-conspirator had been used to search zip ties near me. The count of the conspiracy has a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment, $250,000 fine, and a term of 3 years of supervised release. The count of false statements also has a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment and a $250,000 fine and a term of 3 years for supervised release. Here she is. Here's what she did to her body. This is how she was found. I mean, she did this to herself. I'm not really sure why. I don't know why. But was this for publicity? What was the purpose of this? I don't know. She looks like a beautiful young lady. Now she's scarred up permanently and going to spend some time in prison. How wonderful is that? Anyways, and in other news, speaking of abusing oneself and selling oneself out, Dick Cheney passed away, and they had their funeral, their observance, their whatever it was. And our cameras were there, and we caught an interview with Mike Pence, and it went a little something like this.
Well, Dick Cheney will always be remembered as a real piece of shit. So every single person who was invited to his funeral is a piece of shit just like him. That's why I was invited, and President Trump was not. Only deep state swamp pieces of shit are allowed here today. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Well, Dick Cheney will always be remembered as a real piece of shit.
Well, there you go. Now you know how Mike Pence really feels. He was invited. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were not invited. I mean, they were uninvited. It was not that, they didn't get an invitation, or it was kind of, you should probably stay away. No. They were told not to come. And so he didn't, which is fine with me. But a bunch of other people were there, and in the immortal words of Mike Pence, they were POSs. Here they are, in all their glory, as they sit around the death of their leader. I mean, one of their leaders. I mean, their kin, their brothers in arms.
An extraordinary look at American history with all former living vice presidents.
Well, let's try this a little bit slower. How about that? Huh? There we go. We'll try it again.
An extraordinary look at American history with all former living vice presidents gathered in a pew in the Washington National Cathedral to pay their respects to one of their own, former Vice President Dick Cheney. Dan Quayle on hand, Al Gore, Mike Pence, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden as well, of course, rose from the vice presidency to the presidency. But only President George W. Bush will be eulogizing his vice president. Not on hand, President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. President Trump has not spoken at all publicly about Vice President Cheney. Of course, the two did not get along. Famously, Cheney broke with his party and called Donald Trump the greatest threat to the republic. Vice President Vance did offer his condolences and acknowledgments to Vice President Cheney's family, saying there were disagreements, but he respected his service. But those images inside the Washington National Cathedral, so striking, they only happen at funerals. Clearly a sign of a bygone era here in Washington.
Those of you saying there was no flag, there was a flag on the coffin as it went in. And they took the flag off and put the religious flag on it. Why? I don't know. I'm just telling you there was a flag when it went in. So, yeah, there is that. So there you go. That's them. That's them doing them. And I guess they can do that. I don't know. Here's George W. Bush as he strategizes. I mean, as he talks about first meeting or first working with Dick Cheney and why he picked him.
25 years ago, I had a big choice to make, a big job to fill. I want to know all my options, so I enlisted the help of a distinguished former White House Chief of Staff and Secretary of Defense to lead my search for running mate. Dick Cheney and I went through the files name by name. We talked over the various qualities I was looking for in a vice president: preparedness, mature judgment, rectitude, and loyalty. Above all, I wanted someone with the ability to step into the presidency without getting distracted by the ambition to seek it. After weeks of these meetings, I began to have a thought I could not shake. I realized the best choice for the vice president was the man sitting right in front of me. And I told him that. At such a moment, most in this position would have jumped at the chance, but Dick stayed detached, and he analyzed it. Before I made my decision, he insisted on giving me a complete rundown of all the reasons I should not choose him. He also heard one of my top advisors was against the choice, so Dick invited him to make the case. As he did so, he sat there unfazed and expressionless. In the end, I trusted my judgment. I remember my dad's words when I told him what I was planning. He said, "Son, you couldn't pick a better man."
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You remember Dick Cheney gave the gravitas, 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 gravitas. That's when we first started noticing the Mockingbird media. Gravitas, 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 gravitas. You remember that? Some of you may not. You may not be old enough to remember that, but I remember that. I remember a lot of things, and we're going to get into some memory of things a little bit later. Here they are as they listen to music. Well, maybe if I add it to the stage. Here we go. So there they are. They're in the National Cathedral. You know where the National Cathedral was? Do you know where? That's where when Donald Trump was inaugurated for the second time, he went over and sat down for a service at the National Cathedral, which is tradition, and that's where that butch lady with the buzz cut admonished Donald Trump. That's the National Cathedral. Just saying. Here is a interesting point. Divisive in death. Obama skipped Cheney's funeral. Trump and J.D. Vance are banned. And nobody's mentioning Bill and Hillary did not show up to Dick Cheney's funeral either. In fact, Bill and Hillary have been AWOL for, excuse me, for several weeks now, since they were supposed to testify before the House Oversight Committee on their knowledge of Epstein. For some reason, they couldn't make it the first scheduled appointment, so they rescheduled it for this week, which they didn't show up for, and they won't return anybody's phone calls. It's kind of like a renter that's behind on the rent, you know. So that's interesting. And then there's Dick Cheney. Here he is giving his infamous speech.
Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use against our friends, against our allies, and against us. And there is no doubt that his aggressive regional ambitions will lead him into future confrontations with his neighbors, confrontations that will involve both the weapons he has today and the ones he will continue to develop with his oil wealth.
Weapons of mass destruction. This is what everybody points to. But you know, Saddam Hussein did have weapons of mass destruction. At least this was in 22. This was over the first Gulf War. I mean, over the war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan, 9/11, all that stuff, right? But I know they did. You know how I know they did? Because they were blowing up their ammo dumps all around us to blow up their sarin gas, to which more than likely is what I was exposed to, caused me to have Gulf War syndrome. So at one point they did have it. Now, whether they had it in 22 or 2002, excuse me, I have no idea. So they did have it at one point, but they don't have it. They didn't have it. I don't know. I can't say because I don't know. Well, the thing is about that, that's a great point. Tartan Feather says Saddam's weapon of mass destruction was his religion. No, it wasn't, because he wasn't Islamic. Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. His political party was, they had a name for it back then. Somebody tell me, what was his political party? They were not Islamists. They were Muslims in name only. They were as Catholic or Christian as Dick Cheney. That's why he had to rule with an iron fist, because the Sunnis and the Shias hated him. Here's another story. We all heard El Quad. No, there was another name. Begin with a B. I cannot. Bath? Not bath like taking a bath, but like something along that lines. His crime was selling oil for gold. That's a possibility. That's definitely why they took out Gaddafi. So here, you remember Jasmine Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, was reading names of the people that took money from Jeffrey Epstein on the House floor, and then it turned out that none of those people got it from Jeffrey Epstein. They got it from Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, neurosurgeon, a different guy. Well, he's come out in response. It says here, Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, LI neurosurgeon, Jasmine Crockett, confused for nefarious pedophile, floats epic revenge he could exact on the Congresswoman. He says, I'm thinking about contributing to Jasmine Crockett's campaign and then releasing it so everybody knows she got money from Jeffrey Epstein. That would be epic. That would be epic and worth it.
Why have we said
Here is our favorite Senator Kennedy, talking about the continuing resolution. And I agree with this, by the way. They do this every single time. Bath Party. Thank you. BAATH Party. You're right. It's not bath as in taking a bath, but it sounds similar. That was his political party, and he ruled with an iron thumb or iron fist. And he really didn't care about religion as long as you stayed out of his way and let him make his money. That's the truth about it. Here is, and because we went in and took him out, now Iraq is a Islamic shithole. But hey, what do you know, right? Rebuilding the world in our image. It's grand. That's George W. Bush and Dick Cheney's legacy right there. More than the weapons of mass destruction, it's the empire building, trying to rebuild the world in our image. We should have just went in there, killed all the bad people that were threatening us, and then left. That's what we should have done. And like the Romans, poison the wells in the field on the way out, salt the fields and poison the wells on the way out. Just saying. Would have been better. Anyways, here's Senator Kennedy as he talks about the continuing resolution, and he points out that, as I've said many, many times, it's just a game. Why aren't we working right now on the continuing resolution? Why aren't we working on the continuing resolution right now? Why aren't we doing it? We're not, and we're not going to till the very last minute when they cram something else down our throats.
Why have we sat around for 5 months and not started on the second reconciliation bill? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, in my opinion, and really, I'm just making an observation. To me, it's a 12-piece bucket of stupid not to do another reconciliation bill and to waste 5 months before we even start on a second reconciliation bill, assuming that we get started tomorrow. I mean, humans are supposed to have evolved as a species. Why would we not do a second reconciliation bill? Think of what we could do. I mean, moms and dads all across America tonight are going to lie down to sleep, and they won't be able to. What are they worried about? Well, they're worried about the cost of housing, for one thing. They're worried about the cost of home insurance. They're worried about the cost of flood insurance.
They're worried about the cost of health insurance. We all know that. They're worried about the cost of living.
A big, what did he say? A 12-piece bucket of BS. Is that what he said? Let me tell you something. Hey, Senator Kennedy, I love you. But how about a budget? Why are you working on a continuing resolution when you could be working on a budget? You know, instead of continuing the budget that was left over from the flippin' Bush administration. Why not a budget? You're constitutionally mandated to do. But no, they're going to do another continuing resolution, continuing the Bush administration budget with salt and pepper and spices added to it or something. I mean, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? I don't understand. Well, I do understand. I know exactly what you're doing. You can't spend the money. You can't spend the money if it's in a budget. You can't put in there all kinds of crap if it's in a budget and try to hide it from the American people. So Donald Trump has stirred up a controversy. Yep. He stirred up a controversy. And the Democrats are fit to be tied. I played this video for you. The other day. And they are fit to be tied. Here's the video. By the way, it's been taken down. They've taken this video down. I just happen to have a recording.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
So here's the pertinent part of that video right here.
To take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
That's it right there. That's the sedition. Okay? That right there. Listen to what they're saying.
Pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
This is about the immigration. And they are saying that Donald Trump is pitting his military and other institutions like ICE against American citizens. But these aren't American citizens they're rounding up, by the way. They're illegals, invaders. And in many, many cases, the ones they're going after are pedos. And they all, and by the way, everybody that they're arresting. Now, if you're an illegal and you're in the house and they go raid the house and they arrest the illegal Venezuelan drug dealing murderer who has a deportation visa and or an arrest warrant for committing crimes, and you're illegal and they find you out, they'll get you and ship you home too. But the people they're going after, there's warrants. This is completely Totally 100% legal. What these people have said is that Donald Trump is committing crimes against American citizens. They're equating the people that they're arresting and deporting as American citizens when they are not, and they're asking our uniformed services to rise up and disobey a lawful order from the president to round up illegal aliens. Let me tell you something. They're not speaking to our military members. I want to make this clear. They're not speaking to our military members. Everybody in the military, everybody at the CIA, everybody in law enforcement knows what's going on here. And they're not going to put their neck on the line for these idiots. That's not who they're speaking to. They're speaking to the minion mindfuls of mush of Democrat radicals with their blue hair and their furry suits. Donald Trump's committing war crimes, to get out there in the streets and have mostly peaceful protests. That's what they're doing. This is an active commitment of sedition, because they're trying to cause violence and uprising against the United States of America, and not within our military. They worded this very specifically, intentionally, the way they did it. They did it very much that way. It was intentional. It was by design, because they know the military is not going to stand up against Trump over this. Heck, the military didn't stand up against Joe Biden when people's constitutional right to choice was infringed upon with an experimental drug. Surely not this. Donald Trump responds. Come on. There we go. Technology's great. Seditious behavior punishable by death. Now, is he calling for their death? No. Is he calling them seditious? Yes. It says, it's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set, President Trump. This is really bad and dangerous to our country. It's dangerous to our democracy. Dangerous to our democracy. Dangerous to our democracy. Dangerous to our democracy. The words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up. And then other people responding to him. What they did was bad. You know how I know? They know it was bad. They took it down. They took it down. Now, how do they react? How do the Democrats react? They put out a joint statement. House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic Whip Catherine Clark, and Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar released the following statement. Political violence has no place in America. Do I need to play your side saying, if you see them in a restaurant or at a gasoline station, get in their face. Tell them you're not allowed here anymore. Do I have to play them say, Joe Biden, I want to take him behind the woodshed and beat his ass? Do I have to play that stuff? Do I have to play that? Punch him in the nose. Do I have to play that? Political violence? Your side tried to assassinate Trump. Twice. And that's what they're pushing for again, to get their crazies riled up. But I digress. Representative Jason Crow, Chris DeLangio, Maggie Goodlander, and Christy Hula, whatever, and Senators Mark Kelly and Elisa Slotkin all served our country with tremendous patriotism and distinction. We unequivocally condemn Donald Trump, should be President Donald Trump, by the way, disgusting and dangerous death threats against members of Congress, and a call on House Republicans to forcibly do the same. Donald Trump incited violent attack, as he did. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can finish this. It's so bad. My gosh. Donald Trump incited violent attack on the Capitol on January 6th as part of his treacherous attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. The president's violent, unhinged rhetoric against American patriots. God bless America, but not the God of the Jews, is consistent with the well-documented history of attacking prisoners of war. You know, John McCain, Mr. No Name, Gold Star families, and war heroes, all made up by the Democrats. There is no bottom when it comes to Donald Trump. We have been in contact with the House Sergeant of Arms, the United States Capitol Police, to ensure the safety of these members and their families. Donald Trump must immediately delete these unhinged social media posts and recant his violent rhetoric before he gets someone killed.
Into inciting an insurrection, which he did.
They said he participated in an erection, and I have to, an insurrection, sorry.
If they believe Donald John Trump incited the erection.
Let's talk about the fact that President Trump incited an erection, and maybe that too.
Who has been impeached for inciting the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. We understand that the former
insurrection, and I have to say, I got up at 5 this morning to do Casey Hunt's show, and I'm exhausted. So,
yeah, you can talk about that too, I guess.
Maybe we should talk about that too. The president incited an insurrection. Maybe we should talk about the fact that the former president was.
Yeah. The insurrection erection. Oh, it's been disproven 1,000 times over. They just are starting to sue the BBC. They sued other channels. Donald Trump's suing for billions of dollars over this lie. They can't sue Hakeem Jeffries because of the speech and debate clause. Doesn't matter. They're all going to go down. Here is Caroline Levitt at the White House press corps responding to this.
Dangerous rhetoric. And I would just add that if this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the military and members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command, this entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling. I'm going to let you all go because the president, excuse me, the president, I appreciate the encouragement this morning, but this afternoon, but President Trump is about to meet in minutes with Israeli hostages who this administration freed, and so I'm going to go up to that meeting, and you will hear more about that later. Thank you.
Misquoted Democrats in that video. That's actually not what they said.
Yeah, the media doesn't like it at all. They're taking the other side, but you know, it is what it is. Who cares? Who cares? Here is let's see, I got to get to it here real quick. It's Chucky Schumer's response. I know I have it here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Chucky Schumer on the floor, outraged.
Mr. President,
Democrat leaders recognized.
Earlier today, Donald Trump shared a post on Truth Social calling for Democratic members of Congress to be hanged. He also posted a message that said, seditious behavior, punishable by death. Let's be crystal clear. The President of the United States is calling for the execution of elected officials. This is an outright threat, and it's deadly serious. We have already seen what happens when Donald Trump tells his followers that his political opponents are enemies of the state. Every time Donald Trump posts things like this, he makes political violence more likely. None of us should tolerate this kind of behavior. We all remember what January 6th was like. We lived through January 6th. We've lived through the assassination and attempted assassinations this year. We have members whose families have had to flee their homes. When Donald Trump uses the language of execution and treason, some of his supporters may very well listen. He is lighting a match in a country soaked with political gasoline. Every senator, every representative, every American, regardless of party, should condemn this immediately and without qualification. Because if we don't draw a line here, there is no line left to draw. Who would have thought the President of the United States saying his opponents should be hanged? It's outrageous. No president has ever stooped as low as Donald Trump. None. He has made political violence a feature of his politics. And if we don't draw a line here, there's no line left to draw. And yet today he crossed yet another line that no democracy can afford to tolerate. He must be condemned forcefully, loudly, and without excuses before someone takes his words as permission to do the unthinkable. Anything less enables the flames of hatred to grow and spread.
Oh, it's a terrible thing. But you listen to the rhetoric that's come from these people for the last 10 years. They call Donald Trump Hitler. They tried to have him assassinated twice. They raided his home and went through his wife's underwear drawer like a bunch of preverts. Political rhetoric is just that, political rhetoric. Get over it. Grow a pair, which is a challenge for you, I'm sure. Here is Senator Elsa Slotkin. Here's her response. Mind you, they are so proud of their video calling on the military to disobey the President of the United States of America, accusing the president and his administration of using the military to attack American citizens. They took that video down. Remember that.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin, Senator from Michigan, former CIA officer. Earlier today, President Trump threatened myself and a number of other service and veteran lawmakers with arrest, trial, and death because he didn't agree with a video we put out this week. This really isn't about those of us who made the video. This is about who we are as Americans and how we're going to engage with people who we disagree with. I would hope that people of all backgrounds, Democrat, Republican...
By accusing your opponent of using the military to attack American citizens, which you know, I know, and the American people know, are nothing but a bold-faced lie because illegal immigrants are not American citizens, but they are Democratic voters.
Independent would agree that threatening death for people you disagree with is beyond the pale of who we are as Americans. I love this country. It has given me everything. And I refuse to believe that this is the new normal. I refuse to believe that we're going to use fear and intimidation against people we disagree with. And I'm not going to be forced away from speaking up on behalf of my country. I swore an oath to the Constitution many times, most recently less than a year ago as a senator.
Yes, we know. And you use it for toilet paper all the time.
To the Constitution, not to any one man, not to any one president. And I abide by that oath. For me, I believe in the power of this country and that we are better than our current politics represent. And I refuse to be intimidated out of defending the country I love.
She refused to be intimidated, but she took down the video. I mean, you did take down the video, so why'd you take it down? If you stand behind it, why'd you take it? Why'd you take it down? Here is Byron Donalds talking about this act of treason.
What is this story? You've got this Senator Slotkin of Michigan and other Democrats with ads telling men and women of the military services to disobey their orders. Am I hearing this right? Is this America? I don't understand it, Byron.
Larry, this is crazy. The Democrats are now fomenting an insurrection of military personnel, of our intelligence apparatus against the duly elected commander-in-chief of the United States of America, Donald Trump. And why are they doing this? Because they have no answers on the core questions from your last panel on affordability, on energy, on how you're going to make the American people's lives better, more affordable, and allow the American dream to thrive and prosper. So now they're looking to have military officials not follow orders. This is nuts. But what do we expect from a Democrat Party that has no ideas, does not have the pulse of what's going on in our country and ways to fix it? They now want to create an insurrection against the commander-in-chief. Despicable, crazy, but at this point, the circus at Washington, D.C. is, why would we be surprised?
I mean, they've done everything else. Everything but all-out insurgency. They've done everything else against this president that could be done.
I'm Senator Alyssa.
Everything. So what do you expect? I mean, what do you expect? Now here's a pretty good point. Here's a pretty good point here. This is this creator does a real good job. I like following him, and he pretty good synopsis of this video.
The President of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed. This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal. This, as far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now.
It's never happened before that sitting members of the Senate and the House call on the military to disobey the President of the United States of America. That's never happened before either.
Now, especially those that were specifically targeted by this social media post, Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or in violation of the Constitution.
That's a lie. They weren't simply saying that. Let's take a look at what they were saying.
Directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk. This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath.
So no, Democrats weren't just simply saying that you don't have to follow unconstitutional orders. They were saying Trump is pitting our military against American citizens and then saying you don't have to follow unconstitutional orders, which is suggesting that you don't need to follow orders from Donald Trump. Here's the definition of sedition: actions, speech, or writings intended to stir up resistance, rebellion, or insurrection against a lawful government or its authority. There's a strong argument to be made.
Let me just before he gets there, I just want to add my own commentary. Let him read that again.
Against American citizens, and then saying you don't have to follow unconstitutional orders, which is suggesting that you don't need to follow orders from Donald Trump. Here's the definition of sedition: actions, speech, or writings intended to stir up resistance, rebellion, or insurrection against a lawful government or its authority.
Okay. When they said what they said, they were not talking to the military. They were talking to their minions in the street. They were talking to the college professors. They were talking to the college students, the minds full of mush that say that the Donald Trump's an insurrectionist. Donald Trump's an insurrectionist, to go out and rape, pillage, and loot in the street to cause an insurrection. That is the definition of sedition, what they did. Will they be charged with it? No, probably not. Probably not.
There's a strong argument to be made that that's exactly what they were doing. So what I don't like about this is they go out here and say things like this and then try to act innocent as if they didn't say what is on camera. We saw you. Now, do I think Trump's response was good? Not necessarily. I think he took it too far. I don't think he should have said that. Do I think any of them are going to be killed? No, I don't think that. I think Trump could have posted something like sedition is punishable by up to like 20 years in prison or whatever the max is, but it's not punishable by death under law. In my opinion, Trump made a mistake when he posted that. Again, I think him calling it out, saying sedition is fine. There's an argument to be made there, but he should have listed the actual penalty instead of talking about the death penalty. But what I'm not going to let these people do is act as if they were just innocently saying, hey, if you're a military member, you don't have to follow unconstitutional laws, because that's not what they were doing. They were saying Trump is pitting the American military against American citizens, which generally speaking, that is unconstitutional. And then they were saying you don't have to follow unconstitutional orders. Again, directly trying to undermine Trump. They didn't specifically list what he was doing that was unconstitutional. They're just trying to undermine him, and they're members of Congress. Yeah, they're trying to have no accountability and trying to get Trump to take all the accountability. And in reality, both sides need to be taking accountability. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Just a reminder, I have a free email newsletter where I give you morning updates. The link is in my profile. Just go there, drop your email in, hit subscribe, and you'll be good to go. I'll see you in the next one.
Yep. I mean, I agree with him for the most part. I have a little bit of disagreement because the Constitution, there's one crime in the Constitution and there's one penalty in the Constitution. But, you know, who cares about the Constitution? That's a bunch of words written by a bunch of old slave owners. Jews. We don't need that. Mike says Insurrection Act suspend habeas corpus. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln, under the when he suspended habeas corpus under the Insurrection Act, or I don't know if they had it at the time, as I think that came after the Civil War, but when he was president, he suspended habeas corpus and deported his political enemies, American citizens, rounded it up and shipped them overseas. And you see, the thing is, that won't work as well today because you can round someone up, ship them overseas, and they can get on a plane and fly right back here. But back there in those days, it took a few months to come back. It was they were still using sails for the most part. They had some steam engines, but they wouldn't trans the Atlantic. Yeah, good times. Just a little thing, just a little bit of history there. Mediaite Hakeem Jeffries responds. Top House Dim says Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. He's going to get someone killed. Really? Donald Trump is Hitler. Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Donald Trump needs to be taken care of and gotten rid of. Those are quotes. Going to get someone killed. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, along with Democratic Whip and Conference Chair, put out a statement Thursday blasting President Donald Trump's threat to execute 6 congressional Democrats. Now, He didn't threaten to execute them. He threatened to try them under sedition and then execute them. The trial part, you got to go through the trial part first. Trump posted on social media a screened aim at the people involved. I'm not going to read all their names. Trump post accused lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death after they put out a video urging military members not to follow illegal orders. And the illegal orders they told them not to follow was the ones where President Trump orders the military to go after American citizens, which translates by these lefties, rounding up illegal aliens and Democratic voters, one and the same. Jeffries released his statement on X with the caption, Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut. Only he said it something like this: Donald Trump needs to keep his reckless mouth shut. He said something like that. Anyways, political violence has no place in America, begin the statement. Representative Jason Crow, all the representatives, there we go, all served our country with tremendous patriotism and distinction. We unequivocally condemn Donald Trump's disgusting, dangerous death threats against members of Congress and call on House Republicans to forcibly do the same. Donald Trump incited violent attack, insurrection on the Capitol on January 6th as part of the treacherous attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. The president's violent and unhinged rhetoric against the American patriots is consistent with his well-documented history of attacking prisoners of war. We already read all that. Trump posted his Truth Social account Thursday. It's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested, put on trial. Yes, that's what you do. You get your day in court. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set. President Donald J. Trump. Trump letter added 2 more posts. It's really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up. Seditious behavior is punishable by death. Well, we don't do that anymore. Talk to the Rosenbergs about that. Oh, you can't. They were hanging in the wind. Yep. Why is political rhetoric like this? Why is it important and why is it dangerous? Here's over on Newsmax making a very good point about this sort of thing. Why is it telling our military to do such things? Why is it dangerous what they're doing?
Our military is not pawns. We're not in some game. This is deeply personal to me. This is the story of my platoon that got stuck. I mean, we got stuck in the middle of a political game just like this. Almost got us killed, thrown in the brig, facing charges. At one point, the U.S. military considered turning us over, U.S. soldiers, over to the Iraqi court system so they could prosecute us where we'd likely be hung ourselves. Oh, you didn't hear about this story. Hold my beer. It's in this book. This is the story of how stupid political clickbait videos like Slotkin's have real consequences. You remember this guy from the movie American Sniper? This guy right here that was going around drilling holes in children's faces. In 2009, my platoon caught that guy in real life, the Butcher of Fallujah. He was also the man responsible for hanging 4 American contractors, one of which was a SEAL brother of mine, whose body was lit on fire, dangling from a bridge by his neck. My team caught that guy. We were authorized to use lethal force, and we exercised restraint to bring him back alive for the betterment of the mission, because we were one part, and we did it at great risk to ourselves. And because of orders, so he could be questioned by the CIA and save more lives. Imagine if we had violated that order. After all, we knew he killed one of our own, and he had a gun when we apprehended him. So honestly, like, Democrats, don't ever lecture me and my people on restraint and decorum. And when we brought him back, the same people who sent us on that mission, they turned around and court-martialed us for abusing him in custody, which we clearly did not do, which was proven by our full acquittals almost immediately in a courtroom, all because politicians wanted to have the talking point that they stood with the Iraqi people over their own soldiers. And the generals, whose promotions need to be approved by the Senate, people by like Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin, they bent the knee and they sacrificed me and my team at the altar of their political correctness. And you know what it did? It made every soldier in Iraq and Afghanistan second guess everything. Hesitate to prosecute that IED. How many people did that kill? Apprehending terrorists, or even pulling the trigger when they needed to. Hesitated for their own safety in a courtroom that might not come. Stuff like this gets people killed. It creates stupid rules of engagement, some of which killed my friends personally, because they want to play political grandstand games with no intention of ever backing the soldier up when he does the bidding that they subtly encouraged. This is why people hate politicians. They pop off like there's some moral authority without listing a single specific thing that Trump has done illegally.
He loves the concept.
You see, these things have we just wanted to point out what the evils that Donald Trump was doing and challenge the soldiers to do the right thing, according to us. They have consequences. In the military, politics gets people killed. It has consequences. You know, I listen to audibles when I'm out mowing the grass or doing the yard work or other things where, you know, otherwise my mind is not occupied, but my body is. I listen to audibles. I like listening to audibles, and I listen to all kinds of genre. Right now, I'm listening to sci-fi. I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi, and in this fictional sci-fi thing, I'm like going, the dude writing this thing is a conservative or Republican, or I don't know if he's Republican, but he's definitely conservative. He's definitely on the right because the way he says stuff is just. But there's a interstellar war going on, but the good guy's side is constrained because the politicians are upset that the humans are racist towards the other creatures in the universe. I'm not going, here we are. just absolutely, in this book, it's laying it out how politics gets people killed. Politicians need to stay the heck out of war fighting. They need to set the objective and let the war fighters do the war fighting. And they also can't be out here telling our soldiers, airmen, our Navy, you know, they didn't mention Marines. Just something that the Marines were not included in this, to rise up against the sitting president of the United States of America. By the way, I'll say it again, they weren't talking to them, even though they were talking to them. They were talking to their minions, who are now going to go around and say, see, Donald Trump's an insurrectionist. See, Donald Trump wants to kill our politicians. See. And it's all a bunch of malarkey. It's all set up, subterfuge, BS, mumbo jumbo that absolutely does not mean anything. You know, like Nancy Pelosi here. After a couple of good glasses of scotch, she came out to tell her point of view. I think this is an older video though, but it's still good.
Just to that point in the previous question, Donald Trump is the worst president of the United States for America's children. The worst president American children have ever
Women
had.
and children are hardest hit.
Their health, their education, the clean, safe environment in which they can thrive, including safety from gun violence, I would add, the job, economic security of their families, and a future that is fair and just in terms of yes, the planet, the air they breathe, but also the economic situation they're in. And he is giving them as a gift a $600 billion increase in the national debt for them to pay off as he takes away health care from them, takes down the Department of Education and the rest of it. And to this very point, the air they breathe, the water they drink, he doesn't care.
Lord. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump wants to destroy education, healthcare, children, water, the air you breathe. He wants to butcher all of the kitty cats and the ferrets and the goldfish. Donald Trump's an evil man. I mean, come on, man. Come on, That's a fire at the Comp 30 climate control down in Brazil, climate change summit, whatever, down in Brazil, where they bulldozed old growth forest to build a runway for the elite to land their jets on. Yeah, fire broke out down there yesterday. I guess it is kind of warming down there. Anyways, you notice that they go to have their climate summit in the southern hemisphere during spring and summer. Just pointing that out. Their spring and summer, not ours. We're going in the fall. As a matter of fact, they're talking about an Arctic blast coming next week or the week after, whenever it is. It's going to be colder than it's been all year. That's right. That's that global climate change. Better get ready. It's going to be cold. They're going to have snow. They're going to have snow in upstate New York. They're going to have snow in North Dakota and South Dakota and Minnesota and Michigan. I'm shocked. Could you believe it? Snow in North Dakota going from November to December? That hasn't happened since last year. You know, when it's snowing on the U.S. Virgin Islands in July, then we can talk about global climate change. I'm just saying. When it's 100 degrees in Anchorage in January, we could talk about global climate change. But right now, give me a break. Anyways, they had a fire. It was cool. Here is the Democrats.
I'm here today because this is my watch. This is my watch. But it's also the watch of all of the people who are here with me. So in truth, this is our watch. Yes. This is our watch. Yes. And on our watch, we refuse to allow the demise of democracy. Yes. Not on our watch. On our watch, we refuse to allow liberty and justice for all to become a thing of the past. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. On our watch, we refuse to allow one person to dominate the House, the Senate, and the President.
I just want to point something out. This guy right here, he's paid to stand there. Not on our watch. He's repeating. He's doing what he's paid to do. But he's the security guard. How do I know? One button. Got a nice little bulge right there. One button. That's probably a submachine gun hanging right there. One button. And his eyes. Watch his eyes.
In the United States of America, not on our watch. This is our watch. Dr. King reminds us that the truest measure of the person is not where the person stands in times of comfort and convenience, when there are no issues related to democracy and the republic. He reminds us that the truest measure of the person is where do you stand in times of challenge and controversy. In these times of challenge and controversy, we stand for the remedy that can make the difference and maintain the democracy, and that remedy is impeachment. Impeachment. But that's not enough. That's not enough. Impeachment we must do. Impeachment is the indictment. So he must be indicted. Impeachment. But then there's a Senate, and the Senate has the opportunity to try the case. It is in the Senate that you get what? Conviction. Conviction. And when the Senate convicts, then the Senate has the opportunity to do what? Remove. Impeach, convict, and remove. That's why we're here today. And we're also here today to let you know that on Saturday,
blah, 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 blah. They're having a big protest on Saturday again. Woo-hoo. Come on, man. Impeach him for what? Impeach him for what?
Here we go.
He said that they're a bunch of seditions conspirators. So you impeached him for a phone call. At least he wasn't texting Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm going to go down the road. Oh, by the way, here's DJ Dan, DJ Patch McCain, DJing. They want to censor him for this, but I don't see anything wrong with it. A lot wrong with it. I don't see illegal. I'm not a big crowd kind of guy. I hate the stupid music like that. Anyway, yeah. What a loser. What a nincow poop. What a gullible. Oh, did you see this? By the way, they say this every year. They say every year going into hurricane season, they say it's going to be the worst. Global warming, global climate change. This is going to be the worst hurricane season of all the hurricane seasons it's ever seasoned. We're going to have the worstest of the worst. And then they get out there this year, saying, oh my God, it's a hurricane. Oh, it's a tropical depression, but it's going to turn into a magnitude 52 hurricane. And we got to get our dry ice out and steer it. Must be successful this year. Must be successful because look at this. Says hurricane season has just 2 weeks remaining, but so far, for the first time in a decade, 0 hurricanes have made U.S. landfall, 0 Gulf hurricanes. And this person says, can't help but notice that since it was renamed Gulf of America, hurricanes have decided not to mess with it. Donald Trump has stopped the hurricanes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know what's really caused? Let me tell you. You see, if you follow some of the amateur weathermen out there who are not necessarily amateurs, they just aren't government paid for, they'll tell you that we're in a very strong La Nina cycle right now. And that because of that, it's changed to prevailing winds. That will probably, there was a guy saying in December that there will probably be no landfall hurricanes on the continental United States because of the very strong La Nina that they're having right now. It's almost like he's a prophet, but he's not. You can tell what's going on, or it's either that or the dry ice. I mean, anyway, I'm sorry. No, I'm not. All right. So let's talk about it. I know many of you don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it because I want to talk about it. So it was Erica Kirk. Is there an Erica Trump? Is that why I keep getting that confused? There's an Erica Kirk's birthday the other day. And you should have seen the vile hatred on that post. It was horrible. It was.
Trump's not into kids.
It was horrible. Now, I told you that Candace Owens was never MAGA, never Trump before it was cool. Here's just a few videos of Candace Owens.
Trump's not into kids, right? Mm-hmm. So the nature of the emails, was he at a party when people should just think about that. When people say, oh, they exchange, like he was on his plane, never on the island, but like was on the plane, or was it a party? If you were at you live in Miami. If you were at a party, the idea that somebody could be at any club that you are at or any party that you are at has somebody that's underage and looks like she could be 18, and that doesn't really track to me as any evidence of anything other than the fact that he was at a party once, and Jeffrey Epstein was very clearly running a sophisticated network and a blackmail ring. So I don't think that whatever they have on Epstein with Trump and Epstein is going to implicate Trump in any of that stuff. Yeah. And I've been around him. Trump has a type, and I have never felt that vibe from him at all. But I do think he's protecting some of his donors. I do believe that, because I look at them and they just creep me out. And he took a lot of money from Miriam Adelson, the Adelson family, hundreds of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson. And I think that's kind of the beginning of everything. So when they started leaking these emails, I read it as like a public threat to him. Maybe they're arguing about something in the background and he's holding the line on something. So because they obviously have all the Epstein stuff. He was their blackmail guy, you know? And so if people don't listen, they probably do a little trickle. That's how I read it. I read it as like a public threat, and they want something from him, and they're going to be like, capitulate or we will hit you with everything they have. And we need to have a leader that just comes right out in a press conference and says, they have this about me. They've been threatening me with it. I'm going to tell them to release everything, and I'm going to hold the line. People would cheer. We wouldn't even care. We'd be like, okay, like as long as you're not implicated in harming children, right? I can deal with you being at a party that Epstein was at and finding out that whatever it is that they have on you. That's my.
Well, I agree with her there, but Donald Trump has released the Epstein files now. It's like it was part of the plan. But wait, there's more, because she hasn't always been so nice. Let's just watch. We'll just see how this goes.
Are you done with Donald Trump, or could you see a way that you would end up perhaps voting for him? Oh, you can't run again, obviously, but would you support him publicly again?
So I want to be clear. I don't regret voting for Donald Trump above Kamala. I think he was the better candidate, certainly a better candidate above Joe Biden. But what I will say is that he's been a chronic disappointment. And I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him because this wasn't going to happen, and it is happening. But I just think that the picture.
She was a never Trumper. She is a never Trumper, and she'll be a never Trumper. Here's some more. Just playing her own words. This is her accusing Donald Trump of assassinating Charlie Kirk.
Just really needed to just take a breather and really process everything that happened with Charlie and what it kind of means in terms of where we are. And I think it is a circumstance where we just know. We just know that he was truly betrayed in one of the most egregious ways that I think I've ever seen. It has made me lose faith in politics. It has made me fully lose faith in Trump. And my heart aches for the fact that he gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics. And they just were like, nope, that is it. It serves us or it doesn't serve us, and we want to move on. And so here's a holiday. Bro, if they try to give me a holiday, what is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them? Why is that a thing? You know what I mean? Like, oh, Martin Luther King, what about this holiday? What about this boulevard? Anyways, let me knock off. Like, they're going to give Charlie Kirk a boulevard. They already did. They did in Israel. They gave him freaking boulevard. It's like, as soon as they give you a boulevard and a holiday, they definitely killed you. Okay, there's no question. They killed you. There's no way. That's like their signature thing. It's like, that's what they do. It's the Fed signature. It's how they sign off after they murder you. So like holiday and a boulevard. And it's never on the nice side of town either. Like Charlie Kirk Boulevard is not going to be a nice side of town. Anyways, I will be back on the 27th, you guys. Thank you guys for all the support throughout these couple of weeks, these last really kind of 6 weeks since Charlie died. And we will see you guys then.
You almost think she was married to Charlie.
And Trump loves money, and it looks like he has sold his soul for money. That's the reality. And they're not going to convince me that I have to support an administration that wants to gaslight me about a person who harmed children. Okay, not going to happen.
Trump loves money, and he's sold out for money. How much money does it take to pay off a guy that has all the money? Trump doesn't care about money. Trump doesn't care about money. That's not what Trump's about. So Steven Crowder put this out the other day. He says, World War Debates reached out with an invitation to debate Candace Owens. I accept. She rejected the offer along with the $30,000 appearance fee. She can have mine, $60K for an easy night out. Barring her acceptance there, I'm happy to do a straight up simulcast for free. So Steven Crowder says, I'm there. Let's debate. It says, hi, Steven and team. Hope you're doing well. Just resending this email in case it got lost in your spam folder. I wanted to give you a quick update. We've reached out to Candace Owens' teams regarding the debate invitation and are currently waiting their response. Thank you again for accepting our offer to headline an event with World War. We're excited to have you on board and look forward to working closely with your team to make this debate a standout moment for the series. We'll keep you updated as soon as we hear back from Candace's side and begin coordinating logistics. Appreciate your time and enthusiasm for the project. Really looking forward to making this happen. Best regards, World War Debate. Candace Owens. Hi, Stephen and team. Candace Owens and team has responded to the debate invitation and declined our offer. We hope to still work with you in the future. So Candace Owens is all about it, right? She's all about it. But she doesn't want to stand up and face. I mean, why, if you believe what you believe, I mean, I'll stand up and debate people on the way I believe. I don't have a problem with that. I debate you guys in the comment section all the time, and you get mad at me. It's fine. And I do have a standard though, and then my standards met with Charlie, Steven Crowder, and Candace Owens. They both met my standard. My standard is you have to have your own show and you have to have 500 followers, because I know how hard it is to get that. But I'll debate you. Just got to do that. We'll set up. Maybe we'll go on Charlie's show and he can be the moderator. It'll be easy, but I'd debate you. Now here's a Q post. Now I didn't know this Q post existed till somebody put it with the Candace posts. But I've been preaching to you for a while now not to trust these influencers, not to trust any of them, to challenge what they say, to think for yourself. There's a term in this post that is right exactly what I've been saying. Think for yourself. and make sure you understand the things you're talking about. If you believe med beds are coming and Donald Trump's going to give us all a med bed to put in our basement that will heal us and make us live forever, if that's what you believe, then believe it. But if you can't tell me what a med bed is and how it works and how it heals your body without some sort of post from some sort of social media influencer or TikTok video, if you can't explain it to me technically, if you can't tell me, for example, an aircraft, the way that an aircraft flies is that it doesn't ride on the wind, it's sucked up. Did you know that? The aircraft is sucked up into the sky because a wing goes flat on the bottom and is curved on the top. That curve on the top causes the airflow to go faster over the top than it is over the bottom, creating low pressure, which causes lift, which lifts the airplane up. See, I can explain to you how an airplane works, just like that. And that's rudimentary. There's more to it than that, but that's how an airplane works. Unless you're flying in an F-15, that's a whole nother story. But if you've seen the fat electricians talk about the F-15, that's a whole nother story. Anyways, that's explaining it like you understand it. That's not me using some sort of other social media influencer. But let me read this, and I've got to change my glasses because it's small. Let me read this. It's not small. I should have put it on my phone is what I should have done, but I didn't. Okay. It says, expand your thinking. Why are we being attacked? Why are we being attacked by people who claim to be pro-POTUS? Do we have a face? Do we have a name? Do we have platforms whereby to collect followers, selfless, zero vanity? Why are we here? Now, this is Q talking about themselves, but still, my point's still being made here. Why do we ask questions? The choice has always been ours. Use logic. That's something, not emotion, not knee-jerk. Emotion, logic, free information. What draws people here? Expanding exponentially. They claim to be insiders. They claim to have insider contacts. Let me read those two sentences again. They claim to be insiders. They claim to have insider contacts. They do not. Patriots do not reveal classified information. Why do we communicate this way? Think for yourself. Clickbait. We are a threat to profiteering. Information should flow freely without costs. Now, do I have paywall up? Yep. But I give out most of the information on this show for free. And those that want to contribute can. Now, those who want to buy my product can. There's a difference between that. Between selling Trump coins and Trump cards. Between selling, that guy that was just busted, selling pre-subscriptions, the med beds. We established a series of proofs for a specific reason. Undeniable, unpredictable, coincidence after coincidence, growth due to confirmations, real sources, communications with the people, unrestricted, together, control the information, they, harness followers, profiteering, they, Candace, define media, primary goal of the media, to sell, each selling a different narrative, set of targets. Selling makes money. Be careful who you follow to find Patriot. They want you divided. They want you divided. Attacks will only get worse. And then there's one more. They attempted to infiltrate, repackage, rebrand as their own. That's what I thought. They did it with the Tea Party. They did it with the Christian Coalition. They did it with in the 90s with Newt Gingrich's thing. That's what they do. Destroy. By the way, let me just stop right there and mention something. When Newt Gingrich revolution, Remember, Bill Clinton became president. Newt Gingrich took over. The Republicans took over to Speaker of the House with a contract with America. You remember that? And they had a wave of freshman politicians come in, and they took over the House. Do you remember that? Some of you don't. You're not old enough to remember this. It was 93, 94, 90, 94, maybe it's 96. I don't remember when it was. I think it was 94. Do you know who came in there in that wave? People like Mitch McConnell, McCarthy, Ryan. Those were the people that came in that wave. Just think about that for a minute. Let's continue. Attempt to infiltrate, repackage, rebrand as their own. Profit vehicle. Destroy through misinformation. Absorb the confused. Hello. Reroute traffic to their platforms. Action was needed. Prevent false decodes information. That's where I've been saying it isn't Q that got things wrong. It was the Anons interpreting or lying or creating false these people putting all that stuff out. 99.9% of them are BS artists. Kill targeted infection prior to expansion. Simple, non-direct statements made. Be careful who you follow. Some are profiting off this movement. Candace Owens, #1 podcast right now. Message sent, message received. Those guilty immediately react predictably. Those guilty of being who he's talking about here, of rebranding themselves and creating platforms that cause dissension and confusion and getting paid a lot of money to it, react predictably. Timetable, accelerate, misinformation attack. Exposed. Attempts to divide. We responded. House cleaning. Heal core. Important to clean prior to next events. The choice has always been yours. The choice will always be yours. This is not a game. This is not a popularity contest. This is life, freedom, together. We the people. Where we go one, we go all. Time to move on. Dark to light. Attacks will only get worse. Truth is freedom. Truth is logic. Stay the course. Now, what does Q mean by that? I don't know. He puts a bunch of stuff out there to confuse the enemy. Bunch of stuff that Q put out, I think, was just entirely BS with the purpose of making all them folks, like the ones that are reacting to Donald Trump right now. Oh my God, he says he wants to kill us. Those folks to react the way they react. And I think Candace Owens is exactly what Q's talking about, along with the others. Now, let's see here. Did I just read that one? Here is you. So Candace Owens is conspiracy. She's been everywhere, all over the place with her conspiracy on Charlie Kirk. It was the Jews. It was the Trump administration. It was the deep state. It was the Egyptians. It was people within Turning Point USA. It was Erica. She's all over the place, right? One thing she has not talked about was the guy that they got. It's the one thing they haven't talked about. And the one thing she hasn't talked about is where I pointed out the other day, that when I was playing the videos of Charlie Kirk's security guy, and he was talking about one event in the process of setting all this up at the college at UVU. And I said, that's the real conspiracy right there. That's where Candace Owens needs to dig in and find, because that will lead you to the truth. Gateway Pundit reporting. This is the real conspiracy. Bombshell. Charlie Kirk's head of security releases text message showing UVU police chief promised, "I got you covered," regarding the rooftop vulnerabilities. There's the text messages right there. The exchange took place in the days leading up to Kirk's September 10th speaking event at UVU, where Turning Point USA founder was fatally shot by a gunman who said to have fired from a rooftop position. And I'm not going to play those are the videos. I played them the other day. They're on my Telegram page. You can go find them. Speaking to Chief Long, Harpel informed him that he was told students had access to rooftops and walkways directly above the area where Kirk would be speaking. When asked if he wanted access to the roof, Harpel replied that it would be idea to either lock it down or allow one of his own men to post up there. Chief Long responded, "I've got you covered." Right there. Harpel thanked him, but did not follow up or ask him what that meant. Neither of the men involved in the conversation clarified who would be covering the roof, whether private security or law enforcement. Harpel indicates that he believed this meant law enforcement would be covering the rooftops. But he didn't promise to cover the rooftop. The conversation was to all the security team access. Nowhere in the text exchange does anyone suggest that the UVU campus police would cover the rooftop. Tried to exonerate himself from responsibility with this text is misleading. Well, maybe. According to Harpel, no UVU personnel were ever placed on the rooftops, and security never materialized. Why this hasn't come out, why he won't stand up like a man and admit this, I don't know, Harpel said in the interview. Harpel also detailed other critical security gaps that day, including that UVU and Orem Police Department failed to provide drone overwatch or rooftop sniper coverage despite pre-event planning. The rooftop sniper coverage was illegal for the private security to do. It had to be law enforcement. Local law enforcement drone units were on site but never deployed because UVU never requested them, he said. Harpel also claimed the private security team was legally prohibited from flying their own drones due to airspace restrictions. Kirk is said to have been gunned down with a single 30-06 round from a scoped Mauser Model 89 bolt-action rifle, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that in itself is interesting, may be a conspiracy, may be a lapse of judgment, may be a failure on the part of law enforcement and security. But I have another story. Gateway Pundit reporting yesterday. And why isn't Candace Owens asking these questions? I mean, why isn't she doing her thing? I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm just asking. Whoa. Surveillance video of Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin is missing from the sheriff's office. A bombshell investigation by local Salt Lake City station has uncovered that critical surveillance video showing accused murderer Tyler Robinson turning himself into Washington State Sheriff's Office has mysteriously disappeared. KUTV2 News had requested the surveillance footage of Robinson's surrender just weeks after the brutal assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. Kirk said to have been gunned down with a single 30-06 rifle round on September 10th while speaking at Turning Point event in Utah Valley, University of Orem, Utah. The shooter allegedly used a scoped Mauser Model 98 bolt action rifle. Robinson's parents and family friend brought him to the police station to turn himself in less than 2 full days after the shooting, after allegedly recognizing the weapon found by police and shared with the media. Our job was not to interview, our job was to get him here, Washington County Sheriff Nate Brooksby During the press conference on September 17th, within an hour, my friend drove Tyler and his parents to my office, where he was greeted by plainclothes detectives. 2 News submitted public records requests for the surveillance footage of Robinson walking into the sheriff's office and any holding area video. We do not have any records responsive to the portion of the request, as Tyler Robinson did not go to enter the jail area. Our records office with the sheriff's office told the station. The station reported holding room video was denied as part of the investigation. When pressed about a broader request for any surveillance video of Robinson entering the building, officials suddenly changed their story, claiming the footage no longer exists because it was automatically deleted after the department's 30-day retention period. But they requested that stuff before the 30 days, by the way. Specifically, the reporters requested surveillance video showing Tyler Robinson walking into Washington County Sheriff's Office. Our office does not have any applicable records responsive to the request, as surveillance footage is no longer available after 30-day retention period, our records officer told the reporters. The office stated the video was never sent to any law enforcement or legal agency, meaning the main investigation agency in Utah County never received it, and no one bothered to preserve it. Veteran Utah criminal defense attorney Rudy Bayusta, who has handled capital cases for 26 years, told 2 News the disappearance of the video is deeply troubling. For the state of Utah, we would certainly hope that video is available, he said. He went further, suggesting the sheriff's office response appeared designed to shut the door on public and press scrutiny. In fact, it has been if in fact it has been destroyed and not preserved, it is very concerning. And it has then, if it has, then it's very concerning that they're telling you they don't have it. And it has, okay, yeah, anyways. If they no longer have it, I would have expected to say that this video has been provided to the Utah County law enforcement. But instead, the letter leads, in my opinion, as trying to shut the door and not give you free access to the press. The destruction or disappearance of surrendered footage in a high-profile political assassination case inevitably raises questions about the chain of custody, integrity, and whether the evidence is being poorly preserved or conveniently allowed to vanish. So there's a conspiracy theory that you can conspirator on. Hey, Candace, why don't we look into that? Instead of blaming everybody that could be blamed, other than the guy that did it, why don't we ask some questions about that one? And speaking of conspiracy theories,
Zelda Mary's now cabinet secretary.
Here's one that caught my attention yesterday. This one, I've got several articles, different news articles on this, but Fox News reported it and made it pretty simple. So we'll go with Fox News's report on this. Here's Fox News reporting on Adam Schiff's possible indictment for mortgage fraud, because Adam Schiff lives in Maryland and therefore he can't live. I'm just reading. Maureen says, do I need a tinfoil hat? I didn't come to any conclusions. I just read the news report. So I'm just saying Candace Owens needs to look into that. Isn't that what she does? Anyways, Adam Schiff either committed mortgage fraud because he said his permanent residence is in Maryland, or he's senator, or he can't be senator. It's one or the other. But anyways, so there seems to be a problem at the DOJ, because now the DOJ is investigating the DOJ over the DOJ's possible indictment of Adam Schiff. Listen to this.
is here to explain it all to us. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening to you. Multiple sources familiar tell Fox News the DOJ is investigating the investigation itself into mortgage fraud allegations surrounding California Senator Adam Schiff. We're told federal investigators are honing in on some of the people behind the probe and the methods used. Fox has confirmed investigators with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland in Greenbelt today met with a woman who submitted a tip earlier this year regarding Schiff. Her name is Christine Bish. She tells Fox News she received a subpoena to testify before a Maryland grand jury. She flew to Maryland from California, but did not meet with the grand jury. Instead, she met with investigators today and says she will meet with the grand jury in the future. Bish is a Republican congressional candidate in California, and she tells Fox News she came prepared to discuss her allegations against Schiff, but instead was peppered with questions about the investigation itself, including some of those behind the probe.
It makes me think that the investigators are investigating the investigators. They didn't want to talk about the Adam Schiff case. And then towards the end of the interview, they made a point of telling me that the only one being investigated was Adam Schiff. But that's not what the questions were.
At screen left is Ed Martin, who has a wide range of responsibilities at the DOJ. He's looking into mortgage fraud allegations surrounding high-profile Democrats. On the right, Bill Pulte, another ally of the president, who's the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency and made some of the referrals to DOJ. Now, New York Attorney General Letitia James is facing mortgage fraud-related charges. Senator Schiff and Congressman Eric Swalwell, there on the right, have not been charged with any crime. Former Director James Comey, he's been charged with lying to Congress in a separate matter. But his case, Brett, in jeopardy after a judge questioned the DOJ, asking about possibly committing procedural, quote, missteps. The DOJ declining comment tonight on the Schiff matter, and Senator Schiff has denied any wrongdoing. Brett?
So the DOJ is investigating the DOJ over the investigation of Adam Schiff. That's just weird. Something's going on there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's something going on there. Tarred and Feather says a conviction of mortgage fraud is a waste of time and money. You missed the point completely. You missed the point completely. It's not about mortgage fraud. It's about whether Adam Schiff is constitutionally eligible to be a senator from California. That's what this is about. That's the question. Because he's going to have to prove where he lives. You know that when you're applying for government things, when you're trying to establish your residence, where your kids go to school is a big deal in that. Your electric bill, your gas bill, all that stuff's a big deal in that. The reason it's a big deal is because the mass majority of elected officials in Washington, D.C. are doing the exact same thing. Charges have been leveled. No one's been indicted yet, but there is a grand jury impaneled over Fang Fang's boyfriend, Eric Swalwell, doing the same exact thing. And let me tell you something. Why is the DOJ low? Why is the DOJ investigating the DOJ? Because the deep state part of the DOJ is trying to muddle up the water, because they know that many of their members of their deep state coup are in the same jeopardy. They know it. They know it, including Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell, by the way, did you all see this? He's seeking higher office. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Speculation swirls around Swalwell's possible governor announcement on Kimmel. Eric Swalwell is expected to announce Thursday night, and I don't know if he did last night or not, that he's jumping into the crowded California governor's race during his scheduled appearance on ABC Jimmy Kimmel Live, where there are heavy speculation that he says he'll be leaving the House of Representatives to run for governor. Well, that would get him out of his problem now, wouldn't he? Huh. But my only question is Fang Fang going to serve in your cabinet? I mean, serve you in the cabinet? I mean, be involved in the office? No cigars, right?
Eric,
That's what I want to know. Is Fang Fang going to be involved? That's all I want to know. When you run for a higher political office, is Fang Fang? Or are you going to take a remix of Sir Mix-a-Lot to Sir Farts-a-Lot? What are inquiring minds want to know? I just want to know. Here's another story that's broken. Tina Peters was thrown into solitary confinement in her prison the day after she filed a complaint about a teacher who was verbally abusive. Tina is sick, and now they're punishing her more due to her filing the complaint. She was strip searched multiple times. They want her to die. They want her to die. That's what that's all about.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Yeah. Shut up. Got just a couple minutes. What else did I have? Oh, almost forgot. Some of you yesterday were discussing in the comment section about when I was listing all of the the crimes and happenings that have happened since Donald Trump and with the Hillarys and with the Obamas and all that stuff. Somebody mentioned Seth Rich. Well, guess who's in the news today? Attorney Cleaver calls out FBI, demands Jim Comey and Andrew McCabe turn over any and all efforts to hide records on Seth Rich. Now, this is from today. I don't know why they're going after them. But anyways, Attorney Ty Cleaver fired off a blistering letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel back in April, accusing the FBI of flagrantly concealing critical records about the late DNC staffer Seth Rich and the now discredited Russia collusion narrative. Seth Rich was murdered in the summer of 2016 before the release of the Hillary Clinton emails. His death has never been explained. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange suggested it was Rich who provided the Hillary DNC emails to his organization and not Russia. In February 2024, Cleaver demanded that the FBI hand over the Seth Rich documents that they continue to conceal from the public. The FBI refused. The FBI refusal follows a pattern of obfuscation. For years, the agency denied even possessing Seth Rich's laptop until Cleaver's legal efforts forced the FBI to admit that they had it all along. Yet, the agency still refuses to disclose any metadata from Seth Rich's electronic devices. Even more damning, Cleaver has already uncovered proof that the FBI improperly withheld pages from the CrowdStrike report related to the alleged 2016 DNC hack, an event that conveniently became a political weapon against President Donald Trump. In April, Attorney Ty Cleaver filed a motion in federal court to hold the FBI in contempt for what he calls deliberate and willful defiance of a court order mandating that the release of key information related to the murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich. The letter obtained by the Gateway Pundit implicated former DOJ intelligence officials in what Cleaver describes as a systematic cover-up designed to protect the Obama-era deep state operatives and their media allies. Cleaver, Representative Plaintiff Brian Huddleston, in a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the FBI, Huddleston versus Federal Bureau of Investigation, claims the agency is withholding documents that could unravel the official narrative surrounding Rich's 2016 murder and the so-called Russia hacking of the DNC emails. The attorney argues that the FBI refusal to release records, including those from Rich's laptop, is not only a violation of FOIA, but also an attempt to shield evidence that could exonerate Russia and point to an inside job at the DNC. Earlier this week, Ty and Cleaver sent a scathing letter to James Gilliam, the attorney representing the FBI, in the Seth Rich FOIA case. Cleaver added information on how former Director FBI James Comey would deliberately misspell names, i.g. for Hillary Clinton, Uma Aberdeen, and Anthony Weiner, so that his emails would not be discovered during keyword searches. James Comey was using a private email account under a fake name in order to hide his communications, and the recipient of Comey's email was using a non-FBI account, even though he was an FBI special employee. That's the same thing that John Bolton was doing. James, I've attached an email that was produced by the government in the criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey, and I believe it is relevance to the Huddleston case. As many observers have pointed out, Comey appears to have deliberately misspelled names so that his email would not be discovered during keyword searches. More importantly, Comey was using a private email account under a fake name in order to hide his communications, and the recipient of Comey's emails was using a non-FBI account, even though he was an FBI special employee. That's proof of deliberate intent to circumvent the Freedom of Information Act, among other laws. Comey was the FBI director at the time of Seth Rich's matter arose, and the indictment accuses Comey of corruptly endeavoring to influence, obstruct, and impede the Senate committee oversight investigation into the FBI's handling of the 2016 Russia election interference probe and related matters. We know there's a connection between Seth Rich and the Russian election interference probe because the FBI is presently citing the Netco indictments as basis for withholding Seth Rich records. Thus, we have an FBI director who deliberately tried to hide his written communications about matters related to the 2016 presidential election, and we know that the Russian hoax was part of the overall scandal. The government's 11/3/25 filing in the Comey case, and this is the link right there, further indicates that the FBI personnel put some of Comey's handwritten notes in burn bags shortly after January 20, 2025 inauguration, apparently with the intention of hiding and destroying those documents. This is nearly 8 years after Comey was fired from the FBI. His deep state allies inside the FBI are still trying to hide, destroy documents about the 2016 presidential election. Even if there were no connections among Seth Rich, the Russian hoax, and the 2016 election, the behavior of Comey and his cronies would demonstrate a culture of bad faith. But there are connections, and that makes this recent revelation accurately relevant to the Huddleston case. The filings in the Comey case are judicial admissions, and the evidence of bad faith is now overwhelming. So the government cannot plausibly argue that the Sentinel search was sufficient. The FBI has previously admitted that emails / documents are not indexed into the Sentinel database unless the FBI employee decides to do so manually. Insofar as Comey was using private email accounts and misspelled names in order to hide communications about the 2016 presidential election, there is no chance that Comey or anyone else would have manually indexed those emails into Sentinel. And we already know that Peter Strzok email about squashing a Seth Rich inquiry was not entered into Sentinel, even though that email plainly included words Seth Rich. In light of these revelations, I propose the following. Interrogatories to Comey's former acting director Andrew McCabe and former director Christopher Wray, asking them to disclose a email or messaging system that they use to communicate about FBI matters while serving as director or deputy director, any misspellings or pseudonyms that they used for Seth Rich, and any and all efforts to hide records about Seth Rich, i.e. who, what, where, when, and how. Interrogatories to all current and former FBI personnel involved in gathering evidence, i.e. IG laptops, or conducting interviews related to Seth Rich, asking them to disclose. All email messages systems that they use to communicate about Seth Rich and related matters, any misspelling pseudonyms that are used for Seth Rich or others affiliated with Seth Rich, and any and all efforts to hide records about Seth Rich. The FBI search all foregoing email and message systems using any misspelled names, pseudonyms, or code names assigned to Seth Rich or those affiliated with him. The FBI is unwilling to expand its search. Then I intend to raise these issues with the judge. Thanks for your consideration. And there's another laptop in play. Isn't that special? So while you guys were talking about the other day, this is bubbling back up. What will come of this? I don't know. But in my opinion, Seth Rich is the one that hacked the DNC, took the emails, and gave them to WikiLeaks, and they killed him for it. That's my opinion. I have no proof of that other than speculation. But he's the originator of all this. That's the reason they kept Julian Assange locked up all them years. Remember that? I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back around too. Was he down in Australia? He's someplace right now hiding out. If that all just comes back around, all this starts, it's all tied together. It's all part of the same thing. You guys, we're getting real close to this. I know it's been a long time and many of you are frustrated. You want something to happen right now, but this isn't about you. It isn't really even about the big players, Hillary and Obama and George Soros and Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Harari and all the rest. This is about God. This is about end times. This is about great harvest. This will be. We're in that season. Hey, it's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means? Besides that, I'm broadcasting on all the channels. It means that it's the weekend. It means that you should probably go out, take some time with your family, relax, take a deep breath, let it out, and know that all is good and all is well, and God is in control. Even if the Chiefs lose again, I'm just messing. You guys have a great day. Patriot Mike is out.